Hi there, everybody. This is Wendy Hernandez, and welcome back for another episode of the Family Law Insider podcast. And today I have a return guest with me today, Linda Hawkins, and Linda is the author of the Yes, Real Women series. And today we're going to talk menopause and about the fact that real women have hot flashes. Linda is a weight loss and lifestyle management coach, and she's going to talk to you about how you can reach her at the end of the interview. But this is a topic that we've touched on, but not really. In one of my earlier episodes, I talked to the menopausal mother, who's a comedy writer and just released a book. But today we're really going to talk about the physical and emotional symptoms of menopause and maybe how you can help yourself if you're a woman who's going through that. So welcome, Linda, and thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, Wendy, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I'm happy to have you back. And, I really do think that this is a topic that doesn't get the attention that it probably deserves. It seems like a lot of people don't talk menopause. And do you have any ideas, Linda, on why that is?
I honestly believe that women from the history did not talk about menopause. There's several reasons in my mind. One is because I think it indicates that women are getting older when you mention menopause. And so they believe that if you identify them as a person who is going through menopause and you're identifying them as an old woman or as a senior citizen or as the elderly. And so women have problems with that.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't think it's accepted in society. I think that society shuns it. They make women feel bad about it. You don't see very many commercials. In fact, it's kind of new that you see a few commercials now on television, but you didn't even see anything on TV about it. So when it's not accepted by society, then we don't accept it. Whatever society likes, we like.
So
So
is the United States the only society who's not open about menopause, or do you know? Or do you think this is a world?
that's a really good question because when I wrote the book, I did some studies looking at some of the other countries. And you look at some of the Asian countries and some of the Persian countries, and they don't believe that women are different or should be shunned when they're going through the change of life. In fact, in some countries, they don't even have the word menopause because that really doesn't exist for them
Oh,
because of
wow.
their diet and their eating habits and the herbs that they probably take naturally. They don't even have to deal with symptoms that we have to deal with.
Okay.
So I believe that it is more pronounced in the United States. So yeah, I see it as an issue in the United States where other countries don't even see it as a problem or as an issue. In fact, the older women are usually individuals who are considered as the wise women,
Right.
and people go to them instead of shunning them. So
Interesting.
I think it's really different in our culture.
And I observed this just yesterday. I was getting together with some family members and my cousin, who just recently had a hysterectomy, and she's just a few years older than I am. I'm 44, so she's going through the change now. And her husband, my cousin, was joking with her and just saying, this is just worse than when she had a baby. I mean, just, the stuff that she's going through because so I feel like women are the butt of a lot of jokes when they start to
Yeah.
go through this, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, but is there a way that we can get women to start to change their attitudes and maybe, the men in their lives or the men in the society about menopause and just treat it differently and kind of give it the respect that it deserves and the women the respect that they deserve?
I would love to see that. And I have created a group called the Savvy Sister Circles. And what we do is we come together as a small group of women and we support each other. We talk about what we're going through. There are some women who have already experienced it and they might have some recommendations for those who are just now starting to experience it. I'm trying to get people to see that it is just a part of life. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to actually enjoy. And I know people laugh at me when I say that, but you should celebrate it because there's so many positive things behind that. You think
Yeah.
about now, um, you don't have to worry about the menstrual cycles. You don't have to worry about not knowing who you are. You know, I think women need to figure out who they are this time of life. But there are so many positives, and women need to look at what's the good part about going through menopause. And you're part of a new society. You're part of a club now.
Yeah.
Enjoy that club.
Yeah.
So
Linda, I mean, exactly when does menopause happen? I mean, or how does it happen? And we don't have to get super technical, but I know that I have read myself about perimenopause, and I'm not even sure what that is. I mean, if a woman's experiencing I mean, what is menopause, and when does it start?
Yeah. Women there's 4 phases of menopause. There's the premenopausal stage, and that's usually when women go through menopause early in life. They're 20 years old, they're 30 years old. Biologically, it's not normal because it's earlier than what's considered as normal. Then you have perimenopause. Perimenopause is the normal biological state. It's when women are starting to decrease the estrogen, the progesterone that they make in their body because their menstrual cycle is decreasing. And it is coming to a halt slowly but surely. And during the perimenopause stage is when you experience all those ungodly symptoms. That's when those hot flashes begin and get really bad. That's when the night sweats and your mood swings and all that fun stuff. That goes on for, oh my God, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 10 years, sometimes even 15 years. That's the perimenopause stage.
Yeah.
And you're still on your cycle during that time.
Okay.
So menopause means that after 12 consecutive months of no cycle, you are menopause. So it's 12 months of no menstrual cycle.
Okay.
Okay? And then after that, you consider as postmenopause. I tell women, you're menopausal for the rest of your life. So until you die, you're postmenopausal.
So during the menopause itself and postmenopause, can women still expect to experience some of the symptoms that you just talked about, like the night sweats and the mood swings and all of that?
Yes, women do experience some of those symptoms, but the great thing is they have subsided. They don't have as many hot flashes, and they're not intense anymore. They don't have as many night sweats. Their hormone, it's not as imbalanced anymore. It's like it just kind of smoothed out. And plus, I believe that women have probably gotten used to it by that point, and they kind of understand by then what's going on in their bodies. So they are adjusting to it a whole lot better. So yes, there are some symptoms, but they're not as intense and they're not as complicated and frustrating as they were during the perimenopause stage.
Okay. So, you know, I'm kind of curious about this for myself at some point in the future, but also like for my cousin, for example, she had to have the hysterectomy because she had some precancerous stuff on her uterus. So now as a result, she can't take estrogen, which I remember my mother took when she went through menopause to help, you know, with some of these symptoms.
Right.
So, you know, I told my cousin, there's got to be something natural, you know, that you can do to help. So what are your thoughts? What are your recommendations on that? Estrogen or no estrogen, or do you have natural remedies that you can point people in the direction of, Linda?
Sure. There's a couple things that I recommend. One is I have a really good friend who is a naturopathic doctor, and she recommends the bioidentical hormone replacement. I don't know if you've heard of bioidentical hormone, but
I have.
she has her patients do a saliva test to get their DNA, and then there's a compound that is created that matches that person's DNA, and it gives them the hormones that they needed to balance what they no longer are making. And so that's a natural way because it's not harmful. It It does the trick for women. I have a really, really good friend who is using that, has been doing it for a year and a half, and she swears by it. She said her life is just so different since she's been doing that. She said she doesn't have any night sweats at all. Her hot flashes have decreased considerably, and she just feels normal again.
Yep,
So
good
that's
news.
one route that they can go. The other thing, I'll go to my book now because I have some recommendations on taking natural herbs, because I really recommend natural herbs, doing things as natural as you possibly can. And a couple things that are in the book is the black cohosh, getting the root of the black cohosh, which has been around for many, many, many years. The book just talks about how the Native Americans used it because it improved the physical and psychological aspect of the menopausal symptoms. It helped with anxiety. It helped with hot flashes. It helped with night sweats. And so that's one thing that you can get from the health food store.
So so people can get this from like High Health, or does it have to be like an herb place or apothecary?
You can get it from most health food stores
Okay.
or herbal stores.
And
Because I get it from the
go
health
ahead.
food store.
Can you spell
Mhm.
that,
Sure.
please?
Black, BLACK, cohosh, COHOSH.
Okay.
And then there's flax seeds, which you can use it ground up or either use the oils. And I usually use the ground up flax seeds and put it in my oatmeal, or you can put it in smoothie drinks or juices or anything like that. And it helps with not only with just the cholesterol level, blood pressure, so it helps to keep you healthy during that time. It helps your heart because your heart is in jeopardy during menopause. So you
Oh,
want to make sure
wow.
that you're taking care of your heart. And then St. John's
Yep.
wort, which has been around for many years. I remember my mother using that when I was growing up back in the home, and that helps with individual who is having mood swings or mild depression. That helps
Yep.
with the psychological aspect. And
Okay.
then Dongquai, that
Yeah.
is DONGQUAI,
Yeah.
and that's been around for a long time as well. It's pretty much a Chinese medicine that they used, and it helps. It says translated to uh, help the cardiovascular condition, helps with high blood pressure and inflammation, headaches, and infections.
Okay.
And the last thing that I also used was the valerian root. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've heard of valerian root.
I
That
have.
is for individuals who have difficulty sleeping at night or for anxiety, but it is considered as the insomnia killer, the insomnia
Oh,
cure.
okay.
So those are a few things that could help. And some women say, well, they tried the black cohosh and it didn't help them at all. And I recommend trying different things or try some of the herbs together.
Okay.
There's some other herbs that go along with the black cohosh that I was using. And then when I started putting those two together, I can't tell you what the other one was, but when I started putting those two together, it helped me a lot more than when I was just using the black cohosh by itself.
Okay.
So,
All right. Those sound good. So you have more information about those in your book, right?
in my book, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right. And also, though, people can consult with a naturopathic doctor to help them with this as well.
Yes, they can, which I do
Okay.
recommend that.
So
Yeah,
what role?
anytime,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, anytime that you are trying something new or you want to know more about a product, if it deals with anything that's medicinal, always talk to your either family physician or a naturopathic doctor, someone who is a professional medical doctor who can help you.
I would say especially if somebody is already on medication for anything, right? Because you don't know
Exactly. Even
how.
if you're using herbs, it doesn't matter. If you're taking
Okay.
medication and you're trying to use a variety of herbs, you need to know exactly what they do to your body or for your body before you start taking them.
Okay. Now, Linda, what role does diet play in menopause? Are there certain foods that people can eat to help relieve certain symptoms? Like, I've read like I have a certain body type. For example, under Ayurvedic principles, and that I should avoid hot things, for example. Are there certain just everyday foods that women should avoid or look to?
There are foods that I recommend that you look to,
Hmm.
and I always highly recommend vegetables. You really need to um, eat vegetables and fewer red meats. One thing I found out when I was eating beef is that the beef would give me hot flashes.
Interesting.
Immediately after I would eat either a hamburger or a steak, I would be miserable. And I began to see that there was a correlation. And when I talked to some people, they said that you need to consider the fact that a lot of the beef is getting hormones, and it may be that it is affecting you. So I just stopped eating beef altogether.
Okay. So you don't eat beef anymore?
I don't eat beef anymore.
Oh, wow.
That's correct. The other thing that I found that affects me is sugar products, anything that's high in sugar. If I eat cookies, candy, cake, anything like that, it will automatically give me hot flashes.
Oh, wow.
What I'm doing is I'm identifying my own personal triggers. And the other thing that affects me are spicy foods.
Yeah.
So if I eat anything that is extremely hot, that was made with peppers, red peppers, um, it first it's really uncomfortable for me. It's like I get this anxiety attack. It's not just the hot flashes, but it also is a physiological change. And so when I start getting this anxiety attack or feeling really nervous or anxious, I have to drink a lot of water. And then I realize that that's an item that I can no longer eat because
Yeah.
of the spices in it.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts when somebody is going through emotional stuff? Because I saw that in action with my mother, and my cousin has told me that it's real, and the emotion's a hard part. It's a hard thing, I think, to deal with, especially if you're in a relationship or whoever you're in the relationships with, your family, extended family, coworkers, with these emotions, they can get the better of you if you don't get a handle on them.
And you're so right, because whenever you're going through menopause, you're not the only person that it affects. It affects the entire household. It affects
Yeah.
anybody that you're going to come into contact with, whether it's long term or short term. And that's because for some individuals, they can't get a handle on their emotions. They can't get a handle on why they're feeling this way, why they're acting this way and behaving so differently. And so that's discerning. I mean, it's um, really difficult when you're going through that.
Yeah.
So I tell people you need to just talk to your family, let them know what you're experiencing, let them be a part of it. Don't try and hide it because that just makes the situation worse. One of the ladies I interviewed in my book, she talked about how her son, when he was younger, he would say he never knew which witch mom was going to be, if she was going to be the good witch or the bad witch.
Right.
And that's very, very true. And she said her husband was, um, he just didn't know what to do around her. He was just so confused, and he didn't know if he could be happy with her or around her, or he didn't know if he had to be real quiet around her. He just never knew because he didn't know what direction she was going to be coming from.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's really hard for family members and for the individual who's going through it.
Yeah.
So I tell women, um, understand that this is just the way it is right now. Try and be conscious of what you say. Try and be conscious of what you do. Make an effort to be kind. Go out of your way. So those days when you are really in a really bad mood, it kind of evens out if you're not always that way.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
when you think about it, just make a real effort.
So
So,
you have to go above and beyond, I guess it sounds like, to be aware of what
be
you're
aware
feeling and how you're
and how you're
acting.
affecting other people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, Linda, we just have a couple of minutes left, believe it or not, already.
Wow.
I know it went really fast. So, can you tell people about the book that you've written and
Oh,
who it's
sure.
written for and how women can get it, or
Sure.
men who need it
Sure.
for their.
The book is called Yes, Real Women Do Sweat, Straight Talk About Menopause. And I wrote the book a few years ago because I was starting to experience menopause myself. And I thought, let me do some research so I can understand it better. And I could do natural things to help myself. And as I was doing that, a girlfriend of mine said, well, you need to write a book because there are a lot of women who are experiencing it. They just don't talk about it. And so that's what I did. I wrote a book, and I've been trying to get the word out because I want women to have a better understanding of the change of life, what that means, how to be happier, how to have a quality of life during that time. And so I'm offering the book on my website. It is www.savvyhealthcoaching.com. The book is also available through Amazon. I've sold quite a few books on Amazon, so I'm proud to say. And if you do buy a book through Amazon and read it, please make comments. That helps me when you make those comments.
Yep.
And I'm working on another book, which we can talk about later, but it's Yes, Real Women Lose Weight, Straight Talk. Yes, Real Women Lose Weight, Drop Pounds Forever with the Basics. And we
Oh,
talked about that briefly.
yep.
So those two books are available on my website. But if you need to talk to me, I like open conversation. You can either make comments on my website or you can email me through savvyhealthcoaching@gmail.com. And I love to answer questions. If you are nearby, I will actually come to you. If you
Wow.
have a group of women that want to sit down with a session, I'll gladly do that.
That's awesome.
I just did one in Detroit about 3 weeks ago, and it was a success. I live in Ohio, so I did one in Michigan that was extremely successful, and the women were just so happy that they did that, and they said they learned so much, and they have a better understanding now of what menopause is all about. And it's good to know that they're not the only one going through it.
Exactly. You're not alone if you're going
You're
through
not alone.
menopause. It's a
That's
beautiful
right.
thing. It's a beautiful rite of passage. I agree with you. Into just a different phase of life. The phase of wisdom. It seems to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. And we need to embrace it that way. We need to see it that way. We're
Yeah.
wise women. We have a lot to offer, and it's something that we should share with other women as we go along, the younger women. So I
Well,
believe in sharing, I believe in talking about it.
well, you're doing awesome things, Linda, and I'm so happy to have you back. And I'm really glad that you gave me some more of your time to talk about this. And we'll be sure
Sure.
to have all the links to your website and to the book in the show notes for this episode, which is going to be released tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank
So
you.
thank you. And so for you out there listening, that's going to do it for this episode of the Family Law Insider podcast. Remember, we're on your side when it matters most, and I will see you next time.